Did you know that 97% of all the water in the world is saltwater, with 3% of the available fresh water, 2% is frozen, leaving only 1% of the Earth's water available for drinking? Looking at that fact, there's not a lot of fresh water left, and like all of you, I'm concerned about that. Before I was informed of how much water the Earth actually had left, or how much water I was actually using on a daily basis, I had no idea of how wasteful I was being with water. Even though most people have no idea how much water they're actually consuming, a shortage of water is a very real threat to our world, and everyone should do their part to use water in the most efficient manner possible. So to convince everyone here to be mindful of your water consumption habits, I'd like to further delve into the importance of saving our water, as well as showing all of you different ways in which you can do your part to use less water. First, let's begin by going over why we should all care about conserving water by explaining the importance of saving water. It will run out one day. Every human and animal does depend on water. So once that water runs out, then pretty much every species will die because they need water to survive. Desalinization has been a topic for turning some of the salt water into fresh water, but that takes a long process and it's very expensive, and we don't have like the right technology for that right now. Just because it is so expensive, our taxes would go up tremendously, and it's actually like a really long process. In addition, with global warming on the rise, our 2% is starting to melt because the 2% is in the polar caps. So once that fresh water melts into the surrounding salt water, then you can see how that 2% would be shrinking and shrinking. So water shortage isn't just a local issue, it's also a global issue. It's happening everywhere, it's not just in the U.S. And for instance, deserts were never really meant for people to live in, and in the U.S. we've adapted ourselves to be able to live in deserts, and as you know, they receive very little rainfall. Usually, to be classified as a desert, they have to have less than 50 centimeters a year of rainfall, which is not a lot at all. And deserts cover 1/5 of the planet, so about 20% of the planet is covered with deserts. And according to the Water Council, 1 out of 6 people don't have access to fresh water. So, not just here in the U.S., but everywhere, 1 in 6 worldwide doesn't have access to fresh water. So with that said, let's take a look at how you can do your part to save water in your own communities. Beware of water pollution. That's a huge waste of water. 40% of America's rivers and 46% of America's lakes are too polluted to go fishing, swimming, or even for aquatic life to thrive in. So that's definitely not good. 1.2 trillion gallons of untreated sewage, stormwater, and industrial waste are discharged into U.S. waters annually. Which, you know, if you're unloading 1.2 trillion gallons of untreated sewage and stormwater into the river or lakes or even the ocean, people will swim in that water or drink that water or fish in that water and become sick and sometimes die because of how untreated it is. And in any given year, a quarter of U.S. beaches are closed at least one time on account of pollution in the water. So, to put that into perspective, just in the U.S., so, you know, mind you, not everywhere in the U.S. is surrounded by water. So, just the coastal areas, on any given day of any given year, you could have a beach closed down just because there's too much pollution in the water. So, I mean, that's a very real threat as well. Another way that you could do your part to save water is by the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. But in addition to that, we could become more efficient with the water that we do use. So to reduce the water that you use, you could reduce that by only using what you actually need. So, for instance, you could not take a 20-minute shower and cut back on rinsing, or shut off the water even when you're lathering, because you don't really need the water during that time. Another way that you could do that is install a water aerator, which reduces water by making the opening smaller, but it has the same water pressure because it pressurizes the water while it's coming out. So you won't really feel a difference, but you'll be saving about half of the water that would come out of there, usually. Another way that you could reduce the water that you're using is by checking for leaks, because hundreds of gallons go to waste with every drip. So the longer that you let that go, the more water that you're actually wasting. Moving on to becoming more efficient with the water that you're using, you could shave and brush your teeth in the shower, which saves time and water, because you don't have to get out and do it at the counter or anything like that. You can just maybe install like a little mirror into your actual shower and shave in the mirror and brush your teeth in the mirror, and you're using the shower water, so you're not actually turning on the faucet in the sink, so it adds up. Another way is to bathe small children together, and even getting help in washing 2 or more pets together. So, definitely with the pets, you'll probably need somebody else to help you with that. But in the long run, you're only using 1 tub full of water instead of 2, or however many times you bathe your pets. Or even back to the children, I'm sure that they can entertain each other, and also you'd be saving water, just because you don't have to put one of them in there and then take the other one out, and then put the other one in there and then take them out, at different times. In addition to those ideas, you could wash your clothes and dishes only when there's a full load to wash. So instead of washing just one thing that you really want to wear, you could make sure that you just save that for when you have more stuff to put in the washing machine. Or even with dishes, if you know that you're the only one eating dishes, just make sure that your plate is clean, and then put it back instead of washing it in the dishwasher, which is ridiculous. Another way that you could reuse water would be by capturing the water that you use for other things and using them on things that you would use more water for. So, for instance, instead of boiling water and pouring it out, you could use it after it's cooled down, of course, to water your pets' water dishes. Or instead of washing your own car, you could even go to a car wash, because the people that designed those car washes most of the time had water conservation in mind. So usually it would be a lot less water than what you would use to wash your own car. You could use the water out of old fish tanks to water household plants. You can't really give that to your pets, because fish give off a lot of bacteria, and they go to the bathroom in the water, so it's not really healthy for dogs and cats, but you could definitely use it for household plants. So now that I've given you all the 411 on water conservation, I hope that you are able to see why conservation is an issue and why we must all do our part to save the existing water supply. So you should know how to do that, as well as ways in which you can actively participate in saving water by monitoring the water that you use and using the water that you use more efficiently. We should all do our part in protecting our water supply, because it is diminishing slowly but surely. And with 1% of the world's fresh water remaining, let's not wait till it's too late. Thank you for listening to my speech, and have a great day.